Hi, welcome to Tarot Mandala, where we use the meditative art of creating mandalas to meditate on a particular tarot card in order to really dive deeper into the meaning or the energy really behind the card. Tarot is an incredible tool for really self-discovery and self-awareness, and it's just a great teacher to help anyone kind of look deeper into things and to gain some real clarity around certain situations. Of course, it is always, it is used as a divination tool, and it is a little concerning to me to see how tarot has been a little bit perverted through its recent popularity. It's not just about, will he come back, or does he really love me, or and maybe if that is your journey and that is the thing that triggers the process for you, then by all means, but just know that it's much deeper than that. It's so much more powerful than that. And there's so much symbolism and so many stories behind every card of the tarot. The tarot really is the story of the fool's journey. You can also look at it as the hero's journey, but basically these are, the major arcana are basically energetic archetypes of what we all experience in life, right? The energy, the energetic signature of these particular archetypal experiences are the same for everyone. Now, the details might look different, right? So how each individual experiences these energies might look a little different, but the basic core energy is the same. And so when we understand these archetypal energies, it really helps us to move through the journey of life, in a more conscious, a more aware way. Yeah. And when as we are continually striving to raise our own consciousness, that energy is being uploaded into the collective, and it's helping other people do the same, right? So we're all connected, whereas we're not just, when we raise our own consciousness, we are raising the consciousness of the collective. And so it's important to be self-aware, to be as conscious as you can be, as consciously aware as you can be. Okay, so again, the story, of life is really the fool's journey, and it starts with the Fool at the 0, and it ends with the World card at 21. And the World card is a cycle, right? It's a cycle closing and a cycle beginning. So the Fool's journey goes through many cycles, but our experiences with those cycles are as a spiral, right? So each time that cycle comes back around, we're viewing it from a little bit higher perspective, right? Or lower, sometimes, depends, right? But it's a spiral, and the hope is that we're moving up in the spiral, not down. Okay, so that might have been a little bit much, but let's talk about the devil. So the devil appears as the fool's journey descends into the hidden realm of the psyche. So after the harmony and the divine flow of the Temperance card, the fool must now confront the shadow, the parts of the self that are bound by illusion and desire. And this exists within all of us. This idea of or the energy behind the devil card is something that exists in all of us. It's our shadow. So when we look at the devil card, it's really important not to think of the devil in terms of dogmatic religion, like Christian or Catholic religion. It's really, what it represents is the shadow that exists in all of us. So in the devil card of the tarot, we meet Baphomet. He is the horned figure that is sitting upon the half-cube throne. And around him, the world is dark. It's dark, enclosed, it's heavy with the weight of matter. But before him stand the man and the woman, and both of them are chained by the neck. They're naked, they're vulnerable, yet their chains are loose. They could walk away at any time if they could only realize that, if they realize that they could just walk away, but they're in the illusion. They're stuck in the illusion. They're not aware yet. So again, like this is not the devil of dogma or eternal punishment, like we often see in certain religions. This is the devil within, the shadow within, the force of unconscious attachment, of craving, of fear, self-deception. The story reminds us that enlightenment requires descending into the shadow, because that is where we are able to reclaim our power. We integrate the shadow. We become aware of it. It's not something that controls us, that we hide in. Okay, so the key words for the devil are bondage, temptation, the shadow self, materialism, addiction, illusion. But it's also awakening through awareness and liberation from fear. Okay. So when we look at the symbolism within the card, we can start with Baphomet. Baphomet is a composite being. He is part man, part woman, part human, part beast, both masculine and feminine traits. This union of opposites represents the totality of existence. This is the universe. The universe is, it's it's kind of a paradox. It's both the feminine and the masculine at the same time. It's both the human and the beast at the same time. It's both the light and the dark at the same time. So, this reminds us that good and evil, light and dark, spirit and matter, there are not separate forces, but different expressions of the same energy. This is like the same idea of temperature, like really being a scale. Hot and cold, they're the same thing. They're just on the scale of temperature. So if you see in the card, Baphomet is holding a torch, but it's held downward. So the torch held downward channels divine energy into the physical world. The spiritual fire is now consumed by material desire. Its creation is inverted, spirit bound to flesh. Okay? So the inverted pentagram, which is the 5-pointed star but upside down, it appears on Baphomet's head, right? So it's like so it's an inverted pentagram. It's a 5-pointed star turned upside down. In the upright position, the star symbolizes spirit triumphing over the 4 elements: matter, emotion, thought, and form. But inversion places matter above spirit, so showing the dominance of the material and the loss of the spiritual perspective. Okay, that's inversion. Inversion is putting matter above spirit. So in esotericism, inversion does not mean evil in itself, but rather it represents a reversal of order, the descent of higher energy into lower planes, the soul entering shadow to understand itself. Darkness, in this sense, is not the absence of light, but light hidden or turned inward. Okay? So again, darkness is not the absence of light, but light hidden or turned inward. The half-cube throne, which Baphomet, or the devil, is seated upon, is the symbol of matter and manifestation, but incomplete and unstable. It reflects a false foundation built upon illusion and partial truth. The half-cube reminds us that when we build our lives purely on material or egoic pursuits, our structures cannot fully stand. Baphomet also has the wings of the bat. And so his wings are not angelic, but they're bat-like. They belong to a creature that dwells in the night and navigates by echo. They represent distorted perception. So how under illusion we see, quote unquote, see only through reflections of our own fear. So the wings also carry the essence of secrecy, of things hidden within the subconscious. The chained figures, the couple mirrors the lovers from the Lover's card in the tarot, but the connection here has fallen into distortion. What was once sacred union has now become dependency and desire. Their nudity symbolizes vulnerability, but also honesty. Nothing is hidden under the light of awareness. The chains around their necks are loose. They reveal that the bondage is an illusion, right? But they remain because they've forgotten that they can leave. The devil's power exists only through unconscious consent. Okay, so also in the devil card, you see that the man's tail is a flame. So the man's tail ends in a small fire, representing the misdirection of creative and sexual energy. It's the same divine fire that fuels inspiration, but here in its inversion, it burns without awareness. So it's like lust without love, action without purpose. Fire in itself is not evil, it's simply energy. In the devil's realm, that energy becomes instinctual, impulsive, and consuming. Yet within this flame is also the spark of transformation. Fire in the tarot also always reflects some form of transformation. So once it's recognized, that same passion can become the light of awakening. The woman's tail are the grapes of indulgence. So the woman's tail blossoms into a cluster of grapes, symbolizing pleasure, sensuality, abundance. Grapes are sacred to Dionysus, the god of ecstasy and intoxication. So here they represent the temptation of earthly delights, experiences that can either nourish or enslave depending on consciousness. So her grapes and his flame together illustrate the dance of feminine and masculine shadow energy, the passive indulgence that feeds the active desire, the endless loop of craving and gratification that keeps the soul bound. Yet, just as the grapes can be fermented into wine, an alchemical process of transformation, so too can indulgence become spiritual awareness when integrated with wisdom. Okay? All right. So the black background. So the scene unfolds against a backdrop of deep black, the color of mystery, the unconscious, the void. Black in tarot is not merely darkness. It is the fertile womb of creation. It is like that 0 point energy where all things exist in potential, and it's waiting for that spark, right, to follow that path. So it's the fertile womb of creation, the space where potential resides before form. In the devil card, black represents the unknown self, the part of us that we fear to explore. It's the mystery mistaken for menace. But through facing the blackness, the parts of ourselves that we try to deny, we actually reclaim our creative power. And that is what shadow integration is all about. It's first recognizing that it exists there and recognizing that it is part of the self, and then integrating it in a way that, in an alchemized way, where we acknowledge its presence, but we alchemize it and we use it for good. Okay, so the gray fills the stone, signifying the ambiguity and neutrality. So gray is the color of wisdom, born of experience. But here, that wisdom is dormant. The gray reminds us that the path through darkness requires discernment, the ability to see beyond absolutes of good and evil, light and shadow. It teaches us that wisdom is not rejecting darkness, but integrating it. All right. So let's kind of just review colors a little bit within the tarot. So again, black is mystery, the unconscious, the fertile void where transformation begins. And in the devil card, it represents the hidden self and illusions born of ignorance. Red represents passion, vitality, and power, life force energy, misdirected by desire, but capable of awakening when channeled consciously. Okay. The gray, again, the meeting of opposites, balance through understanding. Wisdom exists here when awareness replaces denial. Yellow is consciousness. Yellow in the tarot always represents, light, illumination, consciousness, the spark of awareness. And here it's the spark of awareness even within the darkest realms. It's the promise of illumination that always remains. There is always that ability to know the light, okay, no matter how far in the dark you are. Alrighty. So just to kind of summarize, and this is really a very important point, the devil card is the mirror of the shadow. Okay, so the devil is really there to expose the shadow, to show us our darkest parts. And this is very important because this is where true learning and true mastery of the self, self-actualization comes from. We have to be fully aware of the things that hold us back or hold us down in order to be able to heal them. Yeah. And so sometimes, it's a little bit concerning in the spiritual community when, like for example, people will say, "Oh, only love and light, only love and light," and I think that I think that's where we might start, but I think the progression from that is really understanding the role that darkness plays in our lives, that role that shadow plays in our lives as well. And so when you are stuck in a consciousness of, oh, only good vibes, only love and light, what you're doing is you're really failing to recognize that each and every one of us carries a shadow within us. So really you're in a space of denial. And so, it's really important to kind of keep that in mind. However, I also feel like it kind of is one of the steps, in the progression, in the fool's journey, to be in that space of like just wanting all of this love and light and like really wanting to focus on it. And that's a beautiful thing, but it's also not sustainable because everybody has shadow, and you really have to be willing to dive into the shadow. Okay, so the devil, he doesn't imprison, he reveals where we have already imprisoned ourselves. That's the mirror. His lesson is not condemnation but clarity, to see where fear masquerades as safety, where pleasure has become avoidance, and where we mistake illusion for truth. In esoteric understanding, inversion, the turning upside down, is not damnation but initiation. It is the descent of the soul into matter, the light entering shadow so that it might know itself fully. Okay? The devil stands as guardian of that descent, showing us the bondage of our own making. When we face him without fear, the illusion collapses. And with that recognition, the fool is prepared for the next stage, which is the tower. And that is where the false structures built upon illusion, now recognized, are struck down by truth, now recognized, right? So freedom then is not granted, it's remembered. So the devil teaches us that darkness, when faced with awareness, is not the enemy of light. It is the soil from which light is born. And that's really a beautiful thing. Yeah? So again, the devil teaches us that darkness, when faced with awareness, is not the enemy of light. It is the soil from which light is born. All right, everyone. Here is all the amazing blessings I could possibly send you on this journey of life. We are in this thing together, and so let's help each other out, move through it in the highest possible way, that is most aligned with the highest intentions and the highest vibrations. Alrighty, everyone. Love you very much. Aloha.